I played piano all through my childhood, and it was only when I was a teenager that I discovered the music of John Williams. And so when I was 13, I discovered the Harry Potter soundtrack, and I fell completely in love with that. And I said, I have to compose music, I have to conduct music, and that's sort of what really sparked it. My name is Roberto Kalb, and I'm the guest conductor this week at the Britt Festival. When I was 13, I started to compose, and my band teacher at the time, Bob Peterman, he said, "Oh, you're interested in composing, you should compose something for our band." And so I wrote this piece for the band, and he said, "You should conduct it." But even before that, when he used to go on work trips, he would leave me the band to rehearse. So I was already rehearsing my colleagues when I was 13 years old. So thanks to really the importance of a great teacher, that's how I started conducting. I remember going to watch the WYSO, the World Youth Symphony Orchestra. And I was sitting in the second row in the rehearsal, and I just thought, oh my God, I have to be surrounded by this sound my whole life, and this is like, my life needs to be around an orchestra. And I was pretty driven even as a teenager, like I knew what I was gonna do. So the very first professional orchestra that I got to conduct was the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra, which is one of the best in the country. So I've been really spoiled in that way, that I've been able to work with some of the best musicians in the country and in the world in my formative years as a professional, and that's really educated how I work with any orchestra. You know, when you're practicing in the mirror and in your head how you would conduct something, you have this idealized version that your gestures are going to have a direct result with the sound. And sure enough, I was lucky enough that I worked with such a high caliber of musician that when I was in front of them, exactly that happened. I felt like it was magic. The first program was focused, I wanted to feature a contemporary piece and a piece by one of our foremost living composers, and that's Gaby Lena Frank. And I wanted a very evocative work, and actually, oddly enough, a lot of the themes that are in the opera are also used in this piece. So there's a nice cohesion. It's about sort of Andean mysticism. It's a very colorful, playful piece, so I wanted that to start the program. And then I did quite a bit of research into repertoire that hadn't been done in the Britt for a while. And Beethoven 7 hasn't been done. I don't even know, I couldn't even find if it had been done at Britt. And it's one of our staples of the symphonic repertoire. So I really thought that the Britt audience would be benefited by listening to this great masterpiece with a great orchestra. And then the second program, I tied it in through a theme of landscapes. So when I was organizing all of these programs, I thought, well, the Britt Festival is encased by this beautiful landscape. And I thought that I would feature pieces that were all based on natural landscapes. We begin the second program with Mendelssohn's Hebrides, which is inspired by this sort of Scottish seascapes. We do a beautiful piece by Tobias Picker called Old and Lost Rivers. And he was inspired by these landscapes that were built by the passing of water. And it's a beautiful piece. The third piece is Scheherazade by Ravel, featuring one of our rising star mezzo-sopranos in the world, Sunlee Pierce. And this is the first time she's singing this piece with orchestra, so I'm really thrilled that she gets to experience this with this great orchestra and this public. Then we do the 4 sea interludes of Benjamin Britten's opera, Peter Grimes. And those are all depictions of the seascapes of the area where Peter Grimes is based. And we close the concert with an incredible piece, and one of my favorite pieces in the whole canon, the Sibelius Symphony No. 7. And that is not directly a landscape piece, but it really sounds like one. And whenever I listen to Sibelius's music, I can see that he lived in a forest, he lived next to a lake. You hear the fjords, you hear these like structures in the air, and I think I was sort of toying whether to end with the Grimes or with the Sibelius, but I decided to end with the Sibelius because it ends on this sort of uplifting, you're sort of elevated from your seat, and I wanted the audience to sort of leave the concert with this sense of euphoria. So it's a very varied program, going from classical, contemporary, all, you have Sibelius, sort of romantic, but I think it's really tied into this idea of like landscape. Conducting is about leading, but also about collaboration. So, you can have a great idea of things in your mind, but maybe when you meet a soloist or a singer, they will shape things a certain way, and then you always have that choice of whether you're going to enable that and help them. And I would say 95% of the time that's what I do. I try to make people sound their best and nurture their own creative ideas. And then if there's a moment where I think that it could be even better by doing something different, then I sort of try and adjust. But I always do it with a spirit of collaboration. I think a piece with different soloists, I will do different every time, just basing on how, what their interpretation is and how that ties into my own. So it's always different. That's what's exciting about live performance, that it's never the same. I'm excited to meet everyone. Like, I always tell people that if they come to the concerts and they see me either before or in the middle or after, they can stop me and say hi and ask me any questions. There are no stupid questions about classical music. People should not feel intimidated at all about it, or intimidated to talk to a conductor or any of the musicians. We're here to obviously entertain you and educate, and so just I welcome them, and please come and say hi.